I never thought a single decision could turn my whole life into a slow walk toward death. What I am about to share still shakes my heart, even now. This is not a story of bravery. It is a story of fear, pain, and a small hope that refused to die. As you begin reading, I ask you to stay with me. Every step I describe carries tears, silence, and questions that had no answers at the time. What happened to me could happen to anyone who dares to choose differently. Before I continue, please tell me in the comments where you are watching or reading from. Let us connect as one family, support one another, and keep praying for those who are suffering in silence around the world. My name is Yusuf Karim. I was born in a small town where everyone knew each other and where religion was not just a belief, but a rule of life. From my childhood, I learned how to pray, how to bow, how to obey, and how to stay quiet. I grew up hearing that faith was not to be questioned. Faith was to be followed, no matter the cost. As I became older, questions started growing inside me like seeds I could not stop. I wondered about love, forgiveness, and mercy. I wondered why fear was stronger than peace in my heart. These thoughts did not come from books or people. They came during lonely nights, during long walks, and during moments when I felt empty even after prayers. I kept everything hidden. In my town, doubt was seen as rebellion. Curiosity was treated like sickness. Anyone who stepped outside the line was marked as dangerous. I learned to smile in public and struggle in private. One day, my secret was no longer safe. Someone close to me noticed changes in my habits. He watched me carefully and reported me to the religious authorities. I was called in for questioning. They asked about my beliefs, my thoughts, and my silence. I tried to explain that I was only searching for truth, but my words did not matter. I was arrested before the sun went down. They took me to a dark building with thick walls and narrow windows. The air smelled old and heavy. My hands were tied and my head was covered. I was pushed forward again and again until my feet hurt. No one explained what would happen next. Fear became my only companion. During the first night, I was placed in a small cell. The floor was cold, and the walls felt like they were closing in on me. I could hear other prisoners crying, whispering, and begging. Some were silent, which felt even more frightening. I did not sleep. I kept thinking about my family, my childhood, and the simple life I once had. The next days were filled with interrogations. They brought me out, sat me down, and questioned me again and again. They revealed to me that leaving Islam was considered a serious crime in my region. They showed me laws written on paper and explained that my choice had a price. Their faces were hard, and their eyes held no pity. They told me that I could save my life if I returned to my former faith publicly. They made it clear that all I had to do was deny my doubts and obey. But something inside me could not go back. Even though I was afraid, I felt that lying would break me completely. Because of this, the treatment became worse. I was beaten, not all at once but slowly, like rain that never stops. Food was reduced, water was sometimes denied, sleep was interrupted on purpose. They wanted my body weak and my mind tired. They wanted me to surrender. Other prisoners looked at me with mixed feelings. Some felt sorry for me. Others avoided me, afraid that my situation might bring trouble to them. I learned how loneliness can hurt more than pain. One afternoon, I was taken before a judge. The room was large, but it felt empty. He listened while others spoke for me. They described me as a traitor, a bad example, and a danger to society. They spoke about honor, law, and punishment. When the decision was announced, my heart dropped. I was sentenced to death. The words felt unreal. My ears heard them, but my mind refused to accept them. I was only 22 years old. I had dreams, fears, and unanswered questions. Yet my life was now reduced to a date on a paper. When I returned to my cell, everything felt different. Time moved slowly. Every sound made me jump. Every footstep outside my door felt like it could be the last one I would hear. I started counting days without knowing how many I had left. The persecution did not stop after the sentence. It grew heavier. Guards treated me like I was already dead. Some mocked me, others ignored me completely. I was denied visits. Letters from my family were not allowed. I felt erased from the world. At night, I cried quietly so no one would hear. I thought about my mother's face and my father's hands. I wondered if they were ashamed of me or praying for me. I wondered if my life had any meaning at all. In that deep darkness, I began to long for comfort, not from people, but from heaven. I remembered stories I once heard about mercy and light. I remembered the name of Mary, spoken with respect even in my former faith. I felt drawn to her purity and kindness. That longing would soon change everything, but at the time I did not know it. All I knew was that I was a condemned man, alone, broken, and waiting for death. I thought fear had already shown me its worst face, but I was wrong. There is a deeper fear that comes when you know your time is being counted, and you do not know which breath will be your last. What happened next was slow, heavy, and painful, and it changed the way I understood suffering forever. After the judgment, I was taken back to my cell. The door closed behind me with a sound that felt final. The walls looked closer than before, and the air felt harder to breathe. I sat on the floor for a long time, staring at my hands. They were shaking, not from cold, but from the weight of what I now knew. I was a man waiting to die. Days passed, but time had no meaning. Morning and night felt the same inside the prison. There was little light. Sometimes a thin line of sun came through a small opening, then disappeared again. That small light became something I waited for. It reminded me that the world was still alive somewhere beyond the walls. The persecution grew worse after my sentence. The guards treated me with cruelty that felt planned. They pushed me harder when I walked. They delayed my food until my stomach hurt badly. Sometimes they forgot me on purpose, leaving me thirsty for hours. They wanted me to feel small, broken, and forgotten. My body became weak. My clothes became dirty and loose. My face changed. When I touched my skin, it felt dry and tired. When I looked at my reflection in a metal bowl, I hardly recognized myself. I saw fear in my eyes, but I also saw a strange calm beginning to form. Other prisoners knew my story. Some looked at me with pity. Some avoided me, afraid my fate would bring danger to them. A few quietly helped when they could. One man shared his bread with me once. Another showed me how to rest my back against the wall to reduce pain. These small acts felt like gifts in a place full of cruelty. At night, the prison became louder. I heard cries, coughing, and chains moving. Sometimes I heard someone being taken away and not returning. Those sounds stayed in my head. They reminded me that my own turn could come at any moment. I was often taken out for questioning again. They revealed to me that my execution could happen without warning. They explained that this waiting was part of the punishment. They wanted fear to finish the work that pain had started. They showed me papers and signs that reminded me of my sentence. Each time I returned to my cell, my legs felt heavier. My mind began to travel back to my past. I remembered my childhood, the sound of my mother's voice, and the smell of food in our home. I remembered running as a boy and laughing without worry. These memories hurt, but they also gave me warmth in the cold prison nights. Loneliness became my closest enemy. There were moments when silence felt louder than screams. I felt cut off from the world, erased, as if my life no longer mattered. I wondered if anyone outside still thought of me. I wondered if my name had already been forgotten. My prayers changed during this time. They were no longer long or formal. They became simple thoughts and silent cries. I did not ask for escape anymore. I asked for strength. I asked for peace. I asked for a sign that my life still had meaning. Hunger was constant. My stomach hurt most nights. Sometimes the food was thrown on the floor, sometimes it was spoiled. I ate anyway because my body needed it. This humiliation was part of the persecution. They wanted to strip me of dignity, not just life. Sleep was broken. Guards came in suddenly, shining lights in my eyes. They woke me without reason. My body never fully rested. My mind became tired, but my heart stayed awake. One day, after a long night of pain and fear, I felt a deep longing inside me. It was not for freedom or food. It was for comfort. I thought about mercy and purity. I thought about Mary, the mother known even in my former faith as a woman of honor and obedience. Her story came to my mind gently, like a whisper in a storm. I began to focus on her during my quiet moments. I did not know why, but thinking of her brought calm. It felt safe. It felt clean in a place full of darkness. This was not something taught to me by anyone in prison. It grew naturally in my heart. As the days went on, my condition became worse. Fever came and went, my body ached. Sometimes I lay on the floor, unable to move, revealing that I did not have much time left. I wondered if death would come quietly, others looked indifferent, or loudly, none looked kind. The guards in one of my weakest moments, I made a decision. I asked, through the proper prison channel, for a final request. I revealed that before my death, I wanted to see the Virgin Mary. I did not know how this request would be received. I only knew that my heart was reaching out for light. After that request, the waiting became even heavier. Every sound outside my door felt important. Every moment felt stretched. I did not know whether my request would be ignored, punished, or answered. All I knew was that I had reached the edge of myself. I was still alive, still breathing, still hoping, even while waiting for death. I had reached a place where fear could no longer scare me the way it used to. When everything has already been taken from you, even death feels quiet. What happened next did not begin with light or sound. It began with stillness, the kind that makes your heart listen closely. The days after my request felt longer than all the days before. My body was weak, my mind was tired. I stayed on the cold floor most of the time, breathing slowly, saving strength. The guards came and went, but nothing changed. No answer came. I began to think my request had been ignored or counted as another reason to punish me. One night, the prison felt different. The usual noise was gone. No shouting, no chains, no footsteps. The air felt calm, heavy but gentle. I noticed that my fear was not there. My heart felt steady in a way I could not explain. I sat up slowly, my back against the wall, and closed my eyes because my body felt led to do so. That was when I sensed a presence. It did not come with force. It did not frighten me. It came like peace entering a wounded place. I felt warmth in my chest, spreading gently through my body. My pain faded, not fully, but enough for me to breathe freely. I felt seen, not judged. I became aware of a woman standing near me. I could not explain how I knew who she was, but my heart understood before my mind did. I knew it was Mary. Not because she told me her name, but because everything about her presence spoke of purity, care, and motherly love. She did not speak in words I could repeat. Instead, she revealed things to me through understanding. She showed me that I was not forgotten. She made me understand that my suffering was seen by heaven. The way she looked at me made me feel like a child again, safe for the first time in many months. I felt tears running down my face, but they were not tears of fear. They were tears of release. For the first time since my arrest, my heart rested. She showed me images, not like dreams, but like clear thoughts. I understood that my life had value, even in chains. I understood that love was stronger than law and mercy greater than punishment. She helped me see that truth was not meant to destroy me, but to lead me forward. Then she gently turned my focus away from herself. She revealed to me another presence, stronger and deeper, filled with authority and compassion at the same time. She made it clear that she was not the end of my journey, but the guide. She showed me Jesus. Again, there were no spoken words I could remember. Instead, understanding filled me like light fills a dark room. I became aware of Jesus not as a distant figure, but as someone close, someone who knew pain, rejection, and death. I understood that he had suffered persecution too. I saw in my heart that he had been mocked, beaten, and condemned, just like I was now. This connection struck me deeply. I was not alone in my suffering. Someone had walked this path before me. When I focused on him, the peace grew stronger. My fear of death began to fade. I felt forgiven, accepted, and loved without condition. I felt clean inside, even though my body was weak and broken. I became aware that my chains did not matter anymore. The walls did not matter. The sentence did not matter. Something greater had entered my life, something no prison could hold. The presence did not last forever. Slowly, gently, the warmth faded. The cell returned to darkness. The cold floor was still beneath me. My body was still weak, but I was not the same man. I remained sitting there for a long time, breathing calmly. My heart felt full, my mind felt clear. The fear that once controlled me was gone. In its place was trust. The guards came later, as they always did. They looked at me strangely. I was still thin, still dirty, still a prisoner, but something about me had changed. I no longer looked broken. The persecution did not end that night. My execution was still planned. My suffering was still real. But inside me, a new life had begun. I had seen hope in the darkest place. and I knew that whatever came next, I would not face it alone. I thought the worst pain was waiting to die. But I learned that the hardest moment is when you stand at the edge of death and choose what your heart will hold forever. What happened next did not remove my chains right away, but it changed who I was inside, and that changed everything. The morning after that night felt different. The prison was the same, but I was not. My body was still weak. My cell was still cold. My sentence was still death. Yet something strong was alive inside me. The guards came early. They pulled me up roughly and led me down a long hallway. My feet dragged on the floor. My head felt light from hunger. I expected more pain, more humiliation, maybe the final walk. Every step felt heavy, but my heart stayed calm. They placed me in another room. This one was brighter, but colder. My hands were tied behind me. They revealed to me that my execution date was close. They explained this with cold faces and sharp movements, as if they were speaking about an object, not a human life. My body reacted with fear. My hands shook, my chest tightened. But inside something held me steady. I remembered what had been shown to me. I remembered that I was seen, loved, and not alone. The persecution increased in its final stage. Food stopped completely. Water was limited. Sleep was taken away. They wanted my last days to be filled with suffering. They wanted me to regret my choice. They wanted me to beg. I did not beg. At night, my body curled on the floor, shaking from cold and weakness. My bones hurt. My stomach burned. Rats moved near the walls. The smell of sickness filled the air. These were the moments when I understood how far cruelty can go when faith is punished. I thought about others like me, men and women locked away, beaten, rejected by family, forgotten by society, all because they chose a different path. This thought broke my heart more than my own pain. Then something unexpected happened. A guard came one afternoon and looked at me for a long time. His eyes were not cruel like the others. He revealed that my condition was being discussed. My health was failing too fast. If I died in the cell, it would cause questions. I was moved to another holding area under observation. This was not freedom, but it was a change. Days later, the decision came quietly. My execution was delayed, then reviewed, then stopped. I was not celebrated. I was not apologized to. I was simply transferred and later released under strict silence and conditions. My life was spared, but my old life was gone. When I stepped outside after many months, the sun hurt my eyes. My legs could barely carry me. I looked around and felt like a stranger in the world. People passed by without knowing what I had survived. Freedom was not easy. I was watched. I was threatened. I was rejected by people I once loved. I lived in hiding. I moved often. Fear followed me, but it no longer ruled me. The persecution did not end with prison walls. It continued in whispers, isolation, and danger. Yet my faith grew stronger. I remembered Jesus, who had been shown to me as one who understands suffering. I remembered that he had walked through pain and death and still chose love. My life became a quiet testimony. I chose forgiveness instead of hate. I chose faith instead of fear. I chose hope instead of bitterness. These choices were not easy. They were made daily, sometimes with tears. Now, as I share this story, my heart turns to those still suffering. There are people right now in cells, camps, and hidden rooms, being punished for their faith. They are hungry, they are afraid, they feel forgotten. Please pray for them. Pray that they find strength. Pray that they are protected. Pray that light reaches them in their darkest moments. And if you are reading this and you feel far from God or heavy with guilt, know this: mercy is still open. Salvation is simple. Turn your heart toward Jesus. Admit your need for forgiveness. Believe that he gave his life out of love. Choose to follow him with a sincere heart. Ask him to guide you, cleanse you, and make you new. You do not need perfect words. You only need an honest heart. I was once a condemned man waiting to die. Now I live with purpose, faith, and hope. And if God could reach me in a prison cell, he can reach anyone, anywhere.